Ultimately, in a one sentence thing, I want to tell the story of unknown artists and creators and dive into their brain and understand why they do what they do, even though all the odds are stacked against them. But ultimately, I'm hoping that someone like you can be the first of many interviews and the first of many people in this documentary to tell a story. All right, what is up everybody, and especially you, Casey and Dan, if you guys are watching this. My name is John Farrar. I'm a 20-year-old filmmaker, videographer, and video editor from Seattle, Washington, but I'm currently living and working in Burbank, California. I'm reaching out to you guys today specifically because I'm in the beginning stages of working on a documentary just on my own, out of my own pocket, and I want to work on it for about a year and submit it to film festivals across the country. I think this can be really big, and I think you guys might have an interest in this because I feel like it is something that it can affect a lot of people, because people like you, like me, and other creators and artists can all relate to this, and I think it's a story that really needs to be told. So really quick, before I dive into the elevator pitch, I'm just gonna give you a tiny little bit of background so you kind of understand where this story is coming from. Essentially, like I said, I'm 20 years old. Right out of high school, I got into film school at Azusa Pacific University, and I realized I absolutely hated it. So I went there for a year and a half, and after first semester of my sophomore year, I dropped out and I moved back home, had no idea what I wanted to do. Luckily, I had worked really hard on my videography and editing skills for quite a while, and that's all I ever focused on. And luckily, when I got home, I had no idea what my plan was, and I got a job with a professional esports organization called Optic Gaming. You might have heard of them. They're a pretty established name in the gaming scene, and I'm so fortunate to be working with them for the last 3 months as a production coordinator. So I've basically been a videographer and editor for their team, and every single week I make a documentary following their team's journey and their storyline. And it's really helped me learn a lot about interviewing and asking the right questions and just telling a story in general. And now every day it's been eating away at me to tell my own story. And I feel like I need to do this for myself and also for other creators that are like me and like you guys once were when you were unknown and trying to make a name for yourselves. So here's the idea. So it seems like everybody, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people nowadays want to be artists. Yet, we all know you can't make any money doing that. So why does the trend continue? If everyone is telling us that you can't make any money being a photographer or being a filmmaker, being an actor, why are so many people still wanting to pursue that? Like, what drives them? And more importantly, what connects all of these art forms together? And the story I want to tell is the story of the people that are unknown, unappreciated, passionate and talented, but they have not yet broken through and made a name for themselves. Because since I'm one of those people, I know so many other people that are incredibly talented, but they just don't have a following. And I want to tell their story and understand why they do what they do. Why do people put in hours and hours and hours every single day on top of their 9-to-5 job that they have to do to provide for their family and to pay rent and to live? What drives them to put in these extra hours, stay up till 3 in the morning editing, or hang up their script in a plastic bag in their shower so they can get some extra time going over their lines? What makes them stay up late and draw these sketches in their sketchbook that maybe no one will ever see? The older I've got, even though I'm still young, I've really learned that every artist can relate on so many levels, and I honestly do think there's something that unites every artist in the sense that everyone is a little bit crazy, right? Like, this field is so challenging and so competitive. Everyone nowadays is a photographer if you can just whip out your iPhone and take these crazy, beautiful pictures. But you have to be crazy if you want to try and compete for years and years and years with no pay, just with the hope that maybe one day you'll get a little extra cash, or maybe one day a few people will see your work. Like, there are just so many people like me and like you guys once were who have this dream and they never lose sight of that dream. And I want to dive into those people, the people who have been at it forever and are so great at what they do. They just need a platform. And one of the things that you've been talking about, Casey, with 368 is you want to help these smaller creators and these smaller artists. You now have a way to give them a platform to reach bigger audiences and to collaborate together. And what I'm trying to do, Casey, is to tell the story of these unknown artists who have such a deep passion and will never lose sight of their goals that they set for themselves years ago and are still pursuing it. And also people like yourself who have quote unquote made it from the outside eye. Of course, to yourself, I'm sure you still have bigger goals and ambitions, but I want to look at both sides, people who no one knows who they are, and people like you who have this platform, who have made a name for themselves through their art, and people have connected with it, and hear your perspective as well. And so this entire documentary is being made out of my own pocket. Like, I'm paying all the expenses myself. That is until I create a Kickstarter, which hopefully I can get a little bit of funding at least to provide for flights, and so I can buy food for people and rent equipment that I might need to make it look a little bit better. Although that's not the focus, because I want to embrace the nitty-gritty, the struggle of it all. That's the essence of this documentary, is the struggle. And you don't always have lighting. Sometimes you got to use your iPhone light. Sometimes you got to use a sock as a pop filter on your mic and sit inside your car in your garage. There's something special about that, but I do want to make a Kickstarter. However, I feel like it's only fair to the people donating to the Kickstarter that they get to see a preview of what this documentary is going to look like and what it might take shape to be. But ultimately, I'm hoping that someone like you can be the first of many interviews and the first of many people in this documentary to tell a story, because you certainly have a story. I've followed you for a very long time, Casey, and if you were the first one I interviewed, I could definitely turn that into a preview video for the Kickstarter. And when people see that and understand where I'm trying to go with this documentary, they'll be more willing to donate, and they'll feel more confident in me because they understand that I know what I'm doing. Ultimately, in a one-sentence thing, I want to tell the story of unknown artists and creators and dive into their brain and understand why they do what they do, even though all the odds are stacked against them. But also explain how we live in a time and a generation where there's so many platforms for you to potentially succeed and to help them grow, and dive into that a little bit and ultimately figure out what unites all of us in this generation where everyone is telling us that you have to be realistic and you can't make money doing this or doing that. Why do people continue to do it? So Casey and Dan, I look up to you guys on so many levels. I have followed you for years, Casey and Dan, ever since you made the video about do you even like yourself? So Casey and Dan, I will literally do anything to come and meet with you guys. I would absolutely love to interview both of you guys. With all of that out of the way, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I'll pay for everything and anything just to get a little bit of time to sit down and film an interview with you. That's all I want, and I think this could benefit so many people in so many ways, and your videos have changed my life, and I hope that maybe my video will have the potential to change other people's lives. So with all that being said, thank you so much. Have a great day. Peace out.